Imagine Dearborn, Michigan, 1963. The heart of American automotive power. Ford Motor Company, under the ambitious leadership of Henry Ford II, was a titan of industry. But there was a growing desire, almost an ache, for something more than just family sedans and pickup trucks. Henry Ford II wanted prestige, a racing legacy that could rival the European Marquess dominating the global stage. He knew that winning on the track, especially at a race like Le Mans, didn't just sell cars, it sold an image. It screamed innovation, performance, and engineering excellence. And Henry Ford II had his sights set on the reigning king of endurance racing, Ferrari. Across the Atlantic, in Maranello, Italy, sat the undisputed monarch of motorsport, Enzo Ferrari. Illinois Commendator, as he was known, had built an empire not on mass production, but on passion, speed, and an unwavering commitment to racing. His Scala cars were legendary, and his factory was a shrine to performance. Ferrari had an unbroken string of victories at the grueling 24 Hours of Le Mans, a race that pushed cars and drivers to their absolute limits. If Ford wanted racing prestige, they had to beat Ferrari. Or, perhaps, buy them out entirely. Henry Ford II saw an opportunity. Why build a racing division from scratch when you could acquire the best? In early 1963, Ford approached Ferrari with an offer to purchase the entire company. For Ford, it was a chance to instantly gain the racing pedigree they craved, along with Ferrari's renowned engineering talent. For Enzo, who was facing financial pressures, it seemed like a lifeline, a way to secure the future of his beloved racing team while still keeping his hands on the wheel, so to speak. Both sides saw potential, and the negotiations began in earnest. The talks were extensive, stretching over several months. Ford's legal and financial teams pored over Ferrari's books, conducting what's known as due diligence, basically checking every single detail to ensure the company was worth the investment. This process wasn't cheap. Ford spent a staggering $2.5 million on audits, legal fees, and travel, meticulously dissecting Ferrari's operations, assets, and liabilities. Everything seemed to be progressing smoothly. The two automotive giants were on the cusp of forming an unprecedented partnership, one that could have dramatically reshaped the automotive landscape. The deal was virtually done. Papers were drawn up, ready for signing. But then, a crucial detail emerged, a clause regarding racing control. Ford's proposal stated that Ferrari would sell its car production business to Ford, but Enzo would retain control of the racing division. However, Ford insisted on having the final say on all racing decisions, especially regarding which races Ferrari would compete in. For Enzo Ferrari, racing was his soul, his very identity. To relinquish control over his racing program, even partially, was an insult to everything he stood for. It was a bridge too far. Enzo Ferrari, a man of immense pride and fiery temperament, erupted. He abruptly backed out of the deal at the 11th hour, leaving Ford's team stunned and humiliated. But Enzo didn't stop there. According to legend, he hurled a final, venomous insult at the Ford representatives, saying something to the effect of, "Your cars are ugly, and you build ugly cars in an ugly factory." He believed Ford's mass production approach was beneath his artisanal racing passion. He then promptly sold a smaller stake in Ferrari to his rival, Fiat, further twisting the knife into Ford's wounded pride. The message was clear: Ferrari would never bow to Ford. News of Ferrari's withdrawal and Enzo's biting words reached Henry Ford II. The man known for his towering presence and an even more formidable temper was absolutely incandescent with rage. This wasn't just a failed business deal. It was a personal affront, a public humiliation on a global stage. Ford Motor Company had been mocked by a man who considered himself artistically superior. Henry Ford II swore revenge. He gathered his top lieutenants and, with a steely resolve that left no room for doubt, issued a command that would echo through automotive history. The command was simple, yet monumental: go to Le Mans and build a car that will crush Ferrari. Henry Ford II reportedly gave his team an unprecedented, unlimited budget. Money was no object. Failure was not an option. The directive was clear: develop a car specifically to dominate the 24 Hours of Le Mans, to utterly decimate Ferrari on their home turf. This wasn't about winning a race. It was about pride, about redemption, and about showing Enzo Ferrari the true power of American engineering and determination. The battle lines were drawn. To execute this audacious plan, Ford established a new division, Ford Advanced Vehicles, or FAV. Its headquarters were set up in Slough, England, strategically close to Europe's racing heartland. Henry Ford II hired some of the brightest minds in motorsport, including British engineers and designers. Their mission was singular: design, build, and develop a purpose-built endurance racer capable of beating Ferrari. They started with a clean sheet, but with a clear mandate. This wasn't going to be a modified production car. It was going to be a purebred racing machine, engineered for one ultimate goal. The initial design was heavily influenced by Eric Broadley's Lola Mk6, a car that had already shown promise at Le Mans. The team decided on a mid-engine configuration for optimal weight distribution and handling, a layout increasingly favored in racing. They needed a car that was low to the ground, fast, and stable at high speeds. The car's name, the GT40, came from its intended purpose, a grand touring car, and its height, a mere 40 inches from the ground to the top of its windshield. It was sleek, aggressive, and undeniably American in its raw power potential, initially using a 4.7-litre Ford V8 engine. Despite the unlimited budget and top talent, building a Le Mans winner from scratch was incredibly difficult. The first prototypes, the GT40 MKI, faced immense challenges. While fast in a straight line, they were notoriously unstable at high speeds, prone to lift and dangerous handling characteristics. Brakes would fade dramatically, transmissions wouldn't last, and the cars had overheating issues. Drivers reported terrifying moments where the car felt like it was trying to take flight on the long Mulsanne straight. Early testing was plagued with retirements, crashes, and frustration. This was not the immediate dominance Henry Ford II had envisioned. The moment of truth arrived at the 1964 24 Hours of Le Mans. Ford entered 3 GT40 MKI prototypes, hoping to make an immediate impact. However, their hopes were quickly dashed. All 3 Ford GT40s retired from the race due to mechanical failures, transmission issues, brake problems, and crashes. Ferrari, meanwhile, continued its winning streak, claiming its 5th consecutive Le Mans victory with the 275p. It was a crushing, humiliating defeat for Ford, a stark reminder of how far they still had to go. Enzo Ferrari probably allowed himself a quiet smirk. The sting of his insult felt even sharper. Following the disastrous 1964 season, Henry Ford II was furious but not deterred. He knew a change was needed. The European-led FAV team, while talented, wasn't getting the results. So, Ford made a bold move. They handed over the entire GT40 racing program to an American legend, Carroll Shelby. Shelby was a former Le Mans winner himself and had already proven his ability to beat Ferrari with his formidable Shelby Cobras. He was a Texas-born visionary, known for his pragmatic approach, his build-it-right mentality, and a healthy dose of pure American grit. He was exactly what the program needed. Shelby immediately moved the GT40 program from England to his facilities in Venice, California. His team, Shelby American, brought a different philosophy. They didn't just tweak, they re-engineered. Shelby understood that endurance racing wasn't just about outright speed. It was about reliability, driver comfort, and making sure all components could last 24 hours at full throttle. He focused on addressing the notorious overheating issues, improving aerodynamics for stability, and reinforcing transmissions. He injected a dose of pragmatic, no-nonsense American engineering, transforming the temperamental European car into a robust, relentless racing machine. One of Shelby's biggest changes, driven by Ford's desire for sheer dominance, was ditching the smaller 4.7-litre engine. Instead, they shoehorned in a monstrous 7.0-litre, 427 cubic inch V8 engine, the same engine used in Ford's NASCAR stock cars. This engine was brutally powerful, capable of propelling the GT40 to incredible speeds down the Mulsanne straight. But fitting such a large engine required significant modifications to the chassis, cooling systems, and brakes. This beast, now christened the GT40 Mk2, was a true American hot rod, designed to outmuscle and outlast anything Ferrari could throw at it. With the Shelby American team now at the helm and the more powerful Mk2 on track, Ford returned to Le Mans in 1965 with renewed determination. The results were better, but still not a victory. While the cars showed immense speed and improved reliability, mechanical issues, including head gasket failures, still plagued them. All of the MKIs failed to finish. However, a solitary privately entered GT40 MKI, driven by Chris Amorn and Phil Hill, managed to lead the race for a while before ultimately retiring. It was a sign of what was possible, a tantalizing glimpse of the future. Ford was learning, adapting, and getting closer. After 2 frustrating years, Ford poured even more resources into the GT40 program for the 1966 season. They refined every component, tested relentlessly, and meticulously prepared their formidable fleet of MKIs. Ford entered an unprecedented 13 GT40s in the Le Mans race, including entries from Shelby American, Holman and Moody, and Allen Man Racing. The focus was simple: overwhelm Ferrari with sheer numbers and brute force, combined with newfound reliability. Every detail, from pit stop strategy to tire changes, was rehearsed to perfection. Henry Ford II himself would be present, ready to witness his revenge. June 19, 1966. The atmosphere at Le Mans was electric. Ford unleashed its armada of GT40 MKIs. From the very beginning, they dominated. The powerful 7-liter engines roared, pushing the cars to blistering speeds. Ferrari, despite fielding strong contenders, couldn't match the Ford's relentless pace and newfound reliability. As the 24 hours wore on, one by one, Ferrari's hopes faded. The Ford GT40s maintained their lead, running like clockwork. The sight of 3 American cars leading the most prestigious endurance race in the world was unthinkable just a few years prior. But Ford was making it a reality. As the final laps approached, 3 Ford GT40 MKIs held the top 3 positions. In a controversial decision, Ford management ordered the leading 2 cars, driven by Bruce McLaren, Chris Amorn and Ken Miles Denny Hume, to cross the finish line side by side in a staged dead heat for a photo opportunity. However, due to the rules regarding starting positions, McLaren and Amorn were ultimately declared the winners, having started further back on the grid and therefore covering more distance in the 24 hours. The 3rd place went to Ronnie Bucknam and Dick Hutcherson. It was a spectacular 1-2-3 sweep, an utter humiliation for Ferrari on their beloved track. Henry Ford II had his revenge. His multi-million-dollar gamble, born from a bitter insult, had paid off in the most spectacular way imaginable. Ford didn't just win Le Mans, they utterly crushed Ferrari, sweeping the podium and ending Enzo Ferrari's dominance. The Ford GT40 went on to win Le Mans for 4 consecutive years, 1966, 1967, 1968, and 1969, solidifying its place as one of the greatest racing cars of all time. It was a victory of American determination, engineering prowess, and a truly epic tale of vengeance against a proud rival. The GT40 remains a legend, a symbol of what happens when a mighty corporation is told its cars are ugly.